Hello and welcome to today's Lemongrass Live. My name is Jo Derry-Bennett from the Lemongrass marketing team. I'd also like to introduce our discussion leaders today from Lemongrass. We have Eamon O'Neill, John James and Alan Smith. Just before we start, I just want to give a little bit of housekeeping on the call. We encourage as much engagement as possible. So you'll see on your right hand side, there's a chat panel. Feel free to enter any questions at any time. Any that we don't manage to answer within the 30 minutes, we'll happily follow up directly with you after the call. And also in the next few days, we'll share a recording of the session and we'll happily share that with any of your colleagues or further network as appropriate. So with that, I'll hand over to John to start the discussion. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Jo. Welcome everyone. Really warm welcome from the Lemongrass team. So this is, as Jo says, this is Lemongrass Live, which is a short conversational session we're running regularly. This month we're focusing on planning for the move to S/4HANA and the cloud. So we're gonna try and bring out some thoughts, some evaluation criteria that many customers are looking for when they think about their move to RISE for SAP. You know, as we've said, Jo said, please be interactive, ask some questions in the chat window, and then we can pick those up during or at the end of the session. So let's start with some intros. Eamon, do you want to go first?
Sure. So my name's Eamon. I'm one of the founders of Lemongrass. I'm the Chief Customer Officer based out of Boston. I've been working in the SAP space since 1992, so that's just on 30 years now. Alan?
Okay, Alan?
Hi, Alan Smith. I'm the Chief Cloud Architect at Lemongrass. Like Eamon, I started work in SAP in 1992, although I tend to try and hide that fact. I have worked in SAP and in the cloud for a long time, and I also spent 5 years as a cloud architect in the HANA Enterprise Cloud at SAP as part of one of my many stints that I have had working at SAP as an employee.
Cool, thanks, Alan. Yeah, and I'm going to say 20+ years, although it's sort of headed towards the 30 mark soon. So anyway, yeah, I'm an account director looking after some of Lemongrass's most recent, and also some of you know, been here for a while, some of our earliest migrations to the cloud for SAP. Also a lot of our upgrade work that we've been doing with our customers. And for me on this session, I'm interested in, you know, the impact of RISE is, you know, being felt through the SAP market, and what does that mean for customers? What are their choices? What are their options? What things should they be considering about when they're thinking about RISE? So with that said, can I turn to you, Eamon, and just set the scene for us? So most customers will have heard of RISE, but could you just summarize what it is and what options customers have when they approach RISE?
Sure. Well, very simply, you know, RISE is a new offering from SAP, well, a recent offering, should I say. And it's really targeted at helping customers do two things. One is to get to S/4HANA, and the second is to get to hyperscaler cloud. And the intent is to try and do those simultaneously. Not always, but that's the intent. Now, the SAP will encourage customers to pick whichever hyperscaler they want to be on, in line with whichever personal criteria they may have. And the customer can pick that, and then the idea is that then you migrate to that cloud. And of course, this is, in some ways, it's another choice for customers. I mean, we certainly see customers, you know, who have evaluated other options at the minute. You know, some people stay on ECC for as long as they can. Other people are moving to cloud native platforms directly within their own accounts, etc. Some people are moving to one of the other S4 options, like public cloud options, etc. And now RISE is a new option on the table. So I think, you know, just as to kind of position it in that respect, it's certainly something that a lot of our customers are trying to figure out, trying to understand, and we certainly encourage people to evaluate it as part of, you know, the other options that they're looking at. You know, obviously with an intent to come to a fully informed decision about which is the right direction for them to move forward. So that's kind of the way I see RISE at the minute. It's certainly an important offering, and something that a lot of people today are trying to get their head around.
Yeah, I mean, it's made a massive splash in the market, hasn't it? So, you know, lots of marketing behind it, lots of power behind sessions behind it. So when you're looking at the evaluation from the business case perspective, is there a compelling business case? What things should customers be thinking about there? Should they think about the commercials over the short term, or maybe thinking about maybe a longer term position? And also just cover off what the impact on the commercials are if you have a merger or an acquisition.
Yeah, well, I think so. Business case, like most big investments, can be complex. You can make it as complex as you want it to, but there's certainly a couple of things we see different that customers we've chatted to who are doing this have learned. One is because it's subscription, that's very different to permanent licensing. We tend to see ROI calculations for permanent licensing over maybe a 4 or 5 year period, but with subscriptions, we're seeing customers do it over a 7 year period. The point there being, if you stop subscription, you have to buy the license again somewhere potentially. But so a 7 year period is what we're seeing customers do. That's something that's a bit different to what we normally see.
And that going back, that 7 years is kind of the technology refresh cycle, isn't it? You used to talk about, if you're thinking about a different ERP, heaven forbid you do anything other than SAP, but at the end of the day, 7 years is sort of a normal kind of evaluation period for ERP systems.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's again, everybody's got their own way of doing this, so there's no textbook, of course, but that's a pattern we're seeing is that type of duration. And some of the people who are really experts in this licensing area say that's a good way to do it. But then there's other factors as well. With hyperscaler, you might already have a footprint in your hyperscaler. You might already have some commitments with that hyperscaler. You might want to understand how this workload impacts that, how it helps it, and again, just understanding the dynamics of that is a factor which can influence the outcome. I think a big one here is licensing. John will talk about it a bit. I think there was a topic around license trading and SAP certainly have some programs where they can help you. If you've got ECC already, how you can get this for, how you can help swap some of those licenses across. That's a big part of it as well. And I suppose the other thing to think about is trying to predict the shape of your business going forward. Obviously difficult at detail, but certainly any of the big building blocks like acquisitions or divestments, and making sure that as you see the growth and ebbing potentially of the business, how's the licensing going to change with that? Are you able, in terms of M&A concept, are you able to bring the licenses in, spin them off as part of a divestment, for example? And one of the things that we certainly in those sort of detail, which is an important part of the business case, the only way to really know is talk to SAP, talk to your account manager, and on those type of topics, and drill into that so you can better model that type of impact on your 7 year business case.
Cool, yeah, absolutely. So make sure you're engaging with your AE and getting their wider teams to give you all the information you need for your evaluation. I think that's critical.
Yep.
Cool, okay, so just turning more to the technology side of RISE. So Alan, you've worked for SAP before. Give us a feel for the scope of RISE, which products are in, which are out. If I wanted to do RISE for some workloads and not others, can I get that to work? And what about the older SAP applications? Are any of those going to be included in this?
Yeah, thanks, John. Really good question for our customers. Yes, so clearly, RISE is all about S/4HANA essentially. Yeah, whether it's the public cloud edition or the private cloud edition, SAP are looking for the customers to benefit by moving to RISE. Yeah, I had a look at the roles and responsibilities for RISE, which is a really good thing for customers to check. It's publicly available on the internet, and it doesn't seem to allow other products. I think BW for HANA and BW, they look like they're included as part of that roles and responsibilities. But again, anything like that would need to be approved by SAP themselves. Now, I have heard anecdotally that you can get other products approved as part of a PCE extension with an additional BOM. Again, this will be up to SAP to approve this and allow this to happen. What I would suggest to customers is that they do look at that roles and responsibilities. It gives them a good overview of what you can do even with HANA. So not everything with HANA is supported in RISE. And it will give you a good idea of.
That's going to change over time, right? As RISE becomes
that
more.
Will change over time. I'm sure SAP will add more to that as it goes along.
Okay.
But that roles and responsibilities gives you a really good idea of what you can do, what you can't do inside RISE, what SAP will charge you for as part of the default contract, what is additional, and what they won't do at all. Yeah. So there are excluded actions inside there as well. Yeah. Most other products, that customers have, you would have to move into a sidecar area in the cloud, basically. And that's where, Lemongrass could come in and help as well. Not only are we moving customers with RISE into RISE, with S4 into RISE, but we're also helping customers establish that sidecar area for all the other non-SAP and non-RISE applications.
Yeah, we're seeing that actually with some CIOs are saying, it's like, while they might be happy with RISE, they're saying, hey, look, I've got a bigger problem to solve here. I've got an entire data center to empty or whatever, and they want to do it in some sort of coordinated way. So yeah, you're right, Alan. That idea of building a sidecar for the rest of the landscape, it can be a big part of the initiative you're trying to achieve, rather than just focusing on the S4 piece.
Yeah, exactly, Eamon. And I mean, that's what we're looking with our customers. Yeah. So we have customers already that we're helping migrate to RISE. We're also helping our customers that, whether they're going to RISE or not, architect a RISE compatible cloud platform, which will cover both the SAP and non-SAP estates. But to be clear, SAP will not do the migration to RISE for you. So you will need a partner to do that. And that's something that we at Lemongrass are already offering. It's something we're already doing with some of our customers. Additionally, we bring our long cloud experience. We've been running solutions in the cloud, and especially SAP solutions in the cloud, for a long time. We were one of the first. And, we can bring that expertise not only to run SAP best in the cloud, but also to integrate the SAP and non-SAP systems within your cloud and across to RISE as well. But also then look at how do we adopt those new cloud native functionalities that make cloud such an attractive proposition. So things like data lakes, like machine learning, etc.
Yeah, and that's, the whole integration element of cloud, of course, is critical. But automation too is a big part. We see a lot of customers, who want to automate the SAP operations. So, Alan, in terms of that capability with RISE, how far can that go? Can customers get automation working in and around RISE, or what's your view on that?
Another really good question. I mean, let's face it, today, cloud is mostly just software. I mean, everything virtual, even physical, you can instantiate it with API calls, you can run it with software. So, we hear all the phrases, bandied around, the DevOps phrases: infrastructure as code, configuration as code, operations as code, security as code, etc. So looking at automation is definitely something our customers want to shoot for. And it's something we at Lemongrass would definitely propose to our customers. DevOps, and especially DevOps for SAP, is something that's sort of core to Lemongrass. Yeah. Now, over the years, we've developed our own automations. We've had our own Lemongrass cloud platform, but we've seen hyperscalers release more and more automation themselves. And, we would be foolish not to use that. So, we integrate that into our existing offerings, and we look to enrich, the automation provided by the hyperscalers. Make it more, fill in the gaps where, they may not cover everything. So we provide that. We also provide the orchestration around that automation. It's fine having loads of bits of automation, but you've got to be able to orchestrate that. And, Lemongrass is really good at orchestrating that automation and also integrating with the customer's ITSM solution, the SIEM solution, etc. And, certainly I would encourage customers to look at automation for SAP, and then to speak to SAP about what automation they can expect in RISE, because it's that automation that's going to provide you the agility, the flexibility, the benefits that you want to get out of moving to cloud at the very first instance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks, Alan. That's a great summary on automation. And Eamon, going back, you mentioned integration earlier in the session. So, what's the situation with RISE? What does it offer customers who want to integrate across all of their enterprise apps?
Yeah, I think this is I think it's important to frame this question a little bit, that the broader trend we're seeing in the ERP market more generally. So what's happening is customers are looking beyond this omni-suite concept, from the 90s, where everything is just inside the eggshell, and they want to consume components from different areas, even different vendors. And it sounds like a great idea, of course, but it immediately starts asking questions about your ability to integrate across those solutions. Now, SAP come with RISE, there's already built-in BTP, which is part of the subscription, the business technology
platform, right?
Yeah, so that's a set of services SAP offer to allow you to integrate, certainly out of the box SAP to SAP, but extensively into other applications. And it's important to point out as well, SAP RISE are looking to extend into industry cloud capabilities as well. So they're going to be releasing features that are industry specific outside of S4. So as a strategy, SAP are absolutely adopting this idea of non-monolithic architecture. But you want to see how you can integrate beyond that as well, into cloud native services, into third parties. And what we're seeing is, some customers, there's a little bit of a call it a micro trend if you like, but some customers are beginning to take a different attitude to integration to what we've been in this business for 30 years, classically have seen with SAP customers. And they're saying they're going to start with cloud native standards. So they're going to start with data lakes, they're going to start with APIs, they're going to start with event meshes, those type of concepts, as this is how they want to be able to orchestrate across all of their applications. And then they get the SAP team to adhere to those standards. So they make sure that as part of the implementation, they're aligning to these integration standards. Now, the reason that's important and can be very successful is when you then want to orchestrate across those, if you want to do some sort of consumer-facing apps, if you want to do some specific customer-specific apps for your own business, you get access to all of the services, all of the data that you need to be able to consume that in the same way, through the same platform. So that's a very promising trend I'm seeing, but it's early days. We've certainly seen some customers achieve it, but I'd say that in the next 3 to 5 years, I think you're going to see more people take that attitude towards integration, is that they want to make sure that they build it to be able to integrate better outside of the eggshell. And one other thing I would say on that is, with those different, if you like, thoughts or concepts, it impacts your operating model, the way that you, as an SAP customer, set up your operating team. Because now it's not just about being able to integrate SAP to SAP or hub and spoke or anything like that. You need people who understand cloud integration. You need people who understand the consequences of cloud around cost management, around security management, and as Alan talked about earlier, around automation. So the actual impact on the operating model is much broader than just you're now on a hyperscaler, and that's one thing we're seeing with customers is, as they begin to get those capabilities in-house, they're able to better they get way better value out of being on hyperscaler.
Cool, thank you. So yeah, so integration, you're going to get a lot of innovation in that space that customers need to kind of adapt their teams and the knowledge and the learning, the training for those teams to kind of deal with all that innovation that's coming in and they can get access to. But I guess it sounds like something's going to evolve and they're going to really need to focus on to get the most out of this. Yeah,
it's going to be a big thing, I think. Yeah.
Cool, thanks, Simon. So yeah, so just I think over to Joe, because I think we've got some questions coming in from the chat session. I can see some questions coming in. Joe, do you want to just kick us off?
Yeah, by all means, we've got quite a few actually, so we'll race through these if we can. Maybe just a clarification point. This first question was, if I have ECC, can I go to RISE? I think they're meaning, can they do ECC on RISE?
Yes, so maybe I can answer that. So ECC is definitely the software product that SAP wants customers to transform into S/4HANA on RISE. Yeah. Now, you can go with ECC to RISE as long as you have a commitment to move to S/4HANA as part of that contract period. Yeah. Then SAP will probably take you into RISE as well. Yeah. again,
Okay.
it's unfortunately something you would need to clarify with SAP as well. Yeah, they will, and it all depends on what your ECC is running on as well. Yeah. You know, if you're running AIX on DB2, then you may have a challenge moving into RISE. Yeah.
But you're seeing some flexibility there to get RISE off the ground with
Absolutely, John. I mean, SAP is offering some flexibility to get customers into RISE. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that one. Next question, rather provocative. Which cloud should I select for RISE?
I'll take that one, Joe. Yeah. So again, it's an it depends answer, unfortunately. Yeah, and it depends because of the differences between the different hyperscalers that are providing cloud capabilities. Yeah. So if you look at them, there's differences beyond just storage and compute. Storage and compute is the very first sort of, you know, input factor. I mean, there's the ability to deal with very large SAP landscapes, you know, very large SAP systems. Which OSDB choice you require, you know, strategies around handling SAP data and data in general, including data transfer. You know, so is there any region regulation? So, and region support from the hyperscalers, they don't all operate in the same regions. Country-specific regulations or EU-specific regulations, for example. Security, you know, customer interaction. You might be looking at some of the cloud-native capabilities that a specific cloud vendor has. So choosing your cloud vendor shouldn't be based on RISE only. Yeah? Additionally, you know, you may already have a company cloud footprint. So you may have, you know, Active Directory in the cloud or Office 365. You know, you may have some edge computing capabilities already. So the integration with these is also an important topic. And then the all-important topic, of course, is cloud economics. How much is it going to cost? Because cost is always the input into that. Yeah. Now, you know, and you need to do all these evaluations. And the good thing is Lemongrass can help you with that. We've been moving customers into the cloud for a long time. We've been performing these evaluations, you know, so if you need help with that evaluation, please contact us and we can help you. Yeah. And the other important thing is RISE won't differentiate on which cloud to choose, but we at Lemongrass, at least we can help you to do that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that one. I think we've probably got time for 2 or 3 more. Do I have to buy brand new licenses for RISE?
Okay, so let me pick that one. So yeah, so John here. So yeah, RISE definitely, it's a different type of it's a subscription license. So for existing customers on permanent deals, original deals, that would definitely be a new license deal. So you know that comes with obviously all those considerations, evaluation and so on. But you are moving on to a subscription-based license agreement. So if you are, you know, transitioning, like we said there, from ECC to S4, which is the likely scenario here for most customers, you know, there is things to think about here. Is you know, to help with that cost of the subscription, is that SAP have some programs available that you can talk to your SAP account manager about. So they're not publicly published anywhere, obviously, but there are some. We know there's some examples of that in the marketplace. So have a look at that and talk to your SAP account manager about that. But also, you know, there are other options, as we said earlier. You know, Eamon laid it out. You know, if for whatever reason RISE isn't your choice, you can still bring your existing licenses across to a hyperscaler as normal. And you know, you might have bought S4 licenses prior to RISE coming out, and you're just waiting to consume them. So there are all sorts of options there. But the main thing, obviously, is part of this evaluation, you're clearly going to be talking to SAP. Make sure you spend significant time with your account executive. Draw from their teams so that you add all that into the evaluation of this decision for RISE on the commercials.
Okay. Last quick question. I've got one reflection. Can I connect RISE to ServiceNow?
Well, why don't I take that one? Yeah, actually, it's a really interesting topic because I suppose what we're seeing ServiceNow, obviously, it's pretty much everywhere. They've done a great job, a very successful company. But as an ITSM concept, being able to you know, expose the requests you have to any with authorities in the company is a really powerful thing. So, like for example, we're seeing a lot of customers we work with, they want to have system, you know, they want to have self-service for system copy, you know, system sandbox build, backup restores, all those type of things. With automation, you can surface those kind of requests into an ITSM tool, and the whole idea there is, if you put it in the hands of the project team, the release manager or the project manager, you remove the dependency on the basis team, and you take out a lot of time and cost as well by automating it. So the concept of connecting, is definitely something we're seeing customers do. I know SAP are doing some things with ServiceNow, but I'm not completely sure how far that goes with RISE. I think there's still an OSS element where you need to log tickets via OSS, but I'm not completely sure. So I think it's one of those, as Alan mentioned earlier about the RACI. Probably best to have a look at that, and as we talked about earlier, going through that with SAP, with the account exec, to understand where that is at the minute. If that's important to you, is there a way to bridge that? And if that's, I said, if it's important, if it's part of your evaluation, get help from SAP on it. There's definitely the capability to make integration points across pretty much anything now, but out of the box, I'm not completely 100% sure on that.
Okay, and just maybe one final reflection from one of our participants. We talk about beyond SAP, and Eamon, you were talking about some of the value of data lakes and some of the ML and AI aspects that Alan was talking about earlier. Obviously, there's additional costs for many of those aspects. So not only are you considering RISE costs, you're thinking about your longer term SAP value in the cloud. So just a reflection, it's not just a RISE or an S4 decision. There's so much more that people are looking for, and that agility, etc., etc. So I don't know if you've got a final just perspective on that.
Yeah, no,
I think long term.
No, honestly, that's the thing, is cloud is strategic for businesses. It's profound in what it can do, and you've got to think of the slightly broader picture. And SAP themselves say this, while they're focusing on the RISE element, CIOs are dealing with a much broader challenge, and there's much bigger benefits to be had than just hosting. So that's exactly the right way to look at it. This is this is an important decision. You'll change tack no doubt down the line, but that's kind of one of the things we help customers with. Part of our job is to help people see around the corners a bit. What are the benefits that they need to be thinking about, and what are the costs to get there? But yeah, it's important. It's a broader topic than just one element.
We've got quite a few more questions. I'll leave it there, John, and when I wrap up at the end, I'll explain about how we'll cover those other questions that we haven't had time for.
Okay, brilliant. All right, well, let's just finish the session then with some 3 key takeaways each. So Alan, do you want to go first with that?
Yeah. So my first key one is, RISE is a new architecture option, for SAP, for customers, but you still need to look at the bigger picture, as Eamon just mentioned. So you cannot make any decisions based only on RISE alone. You need to look at your whole product set, and also challenge your architecture team, to bring cloud native to SAP. There is a lot of benefits in cloud native technologies. So instead of, just getting SAP to the cloud, bring the cloud to SAP basically. And then if you choose RISE for S4, as we said, don't forget the other applications, because most customers have more than just an ECC system, and it's that integration especially which is key.
Thanks, Alan. And Eamon?
Sure. So I think when you do this move to cloud, be bold. Try to refactor some of the ways of working with your IT services and get more customer focused. That ServiceNow concept is a great idea, but there's other things you can do to get much better outcomes now you're on cloud. Absolutely, we talked about it a few times, but those complementary elements beyond the S4 service around BTP, SAP Business Network, and Process Intelligence, those are extra features of the package. So you want to drill into those as part of any evaluation. Don't forget about those extra components and see how you drive value from that. And then one last thing we didn't talk about too much, but it is important, is that some people are balancing getting to S4 versus transform to S4, if you follow me. So like treating S4 like a tech upgrade almost versus doing a full transformation project. And if you prefer one over the other, this it's a good chance to make that decision. We see people get this for quickly and then do incremental improvements over time once they're on cloud. So that would be my 3.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so my 3, just to finish off. So as we said, in terms of the the evaluation of RISE, you should really do a 7-year TCO to get a good reflection of all the costs. We've had some really surprising answers from customers on that, and it's a good time period to think on. Make sure you talk to your SAP AE to get all the data you need for that evaluation. So make sure you're engaging with their wider teams to look at the roles and responsibilities that Alan was talking about. So you could do a full evaluation of everything you're getting. And then, of course, make sure you keep Lemongrass in your thoughts is my last one. So because I feel we really can help you evaluate, and whatever your decision, we can inform you and along the way to when you make that decision. Cool. So let me just hand back to Joe to close out for the session. But thanks for your time, everyone.
Yeah, thanks very much to everyone who's been on the call today, for everyone who raised a question, and also thanks to our discussion leaders, to John, Eamon and Alan. First of all, for any questions that we haven't been able to answer, we'll follow up in the next 48 hours and help with answers to those. Also, as I mentioned, we'll be showing a recording of this session, and in that email that we send, it has the contact details to Eamon, John and Alan. If you have any further questions or you'd like to hear anything more about our evaluations and how to make those informed decisions, then please reach out to us. We're here to help and ensure that you get the most from your SAP on cloud investment. So just want to say thank you again and have a good rest of the day. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks.